In Santa Fe, New Mexico, there's this little chapel that holds a giant mystery. And at the heart of it is a spiral staircase that, honestly, just shouldn't exist. It seems to defy physics. For more than a century, people have called it a miracle. And its origin story is, well, it's the stuff of legends. So let's dive in and see if we can unravel this thing.
This right here, this is the question that kicks off the whole saga. It's this amazing puzzle that mixes faith, some seriously brilliant engineering, and a sense of wonder that's lasted for generations.
You know, our story doesn't actually begin with a miracle. It begins with a pretty major architectural screw-up. Okay, so picture this. It's 1878. The beautiful Loretto Chapel is just about done, but there's one tiny problem. The builders completely forgot to add a way to get up to the choir loft, which is a full 22 feet off the ground. A normal staircase would be huge. It'd take up almost all the seating and totally ruin the look of the chapel's main floor. Oops.
So, the Sisters of Loretto called in every expert they could find, and every single one of them said the same thing. Nope, can't be done, not without completely wrecking the chapel's design anyway. Their dream project had basically hit a dead end.
So, when all the experts say no way, where do you turn? Well, the sisters turned to a higher authority. And what happens next is what turns an impossible problem into an absolute legend.
Feeling pretty desperate, the sisters started a novena. That's a 9-day prayer to Saint Joseph. And it just so happens he's the patron saint of carpenters. The legend goes that on the 9th, the very last day of their prayer, a stranger shows up at the chapel door.
And get this, he wasn't some big-shot architect with a crew. He was just a man with gray hair, a donkey, and the most basic tools you can imagine. He just told the sisters he could solve their little problem, and then asked to be left alone to work inside the chapel.
For months, this guy worked all by himself. When he was finally done, he had built this absolutely stunning spiral staircase. But here's the crazy part. When the Mother Superior went to pay him, he was gone. Vanished. Didn't ask for a dime, didn't even say goodbye. He just left behind this incredible piece of work, which led the nuns to believe their visitor had been none other than Saint Joseph himself.
So, what did he actually leave behind? Let's take a closer look at the staircase itself, because this thing has been puzzling engineers and architects for a very long time.
Okay, this is where the staircase goes from just beautiful to completely baffling. First, it makes 2 full 360-degree turns, but it has no visible central support column holding it up. It just kind of floats in the air. It's held together with wooden pegs instead of nails, and it's made from a type of wood that doesn't even grow in the area. Oh, and by the way, originally, he built it with no handrails at all.
And if you need one more detail to add to the whole legend, here it is. The staircase has exactly 33 steps. Why does that matter? Well, that's the age Jesus was at the time of his crucifixion. For the faithful, this was no accident. It was seen as a clear sign of its divine origin.
The legend is a beautiful one, for sure. But what happens when historians and engineers start digging around and asking questions? It's time to peel back the layers of the myth.
This is the question that really drives every modern investigation into the staircase. Was the builder really a saint, or was he a master craftsman whose name has just been lost to time?
So, when you put the legend side by side with the investigation, a very different story starts to take shape. The legend credits St. Joseph, but historical records point to a mortal man. The no-nails part wasn't a miracle, it was just a master's use of wooden pegs. And that impossible physics-defying support? Well, it turns out there's a pretty ingenious explanation for that.
So the staircase doesn't defy physics, it just perfects it. The secret is the inner support beam, which is called a stringer. It's coiled so tightly that it basically acts like a giant compressed spring. That tight curve provides all the support it needs, so you don't even need a central column. It's just an absolutely brilliant piece of engineering that was way ahead of its time.
After a ton of research, a historian named Mary Jean Strow-Cook found evidence that points to a man named Francois-Jean Rochas. He was an expert woodworker from France who was definitely in New Mexico around that time. She even found an 1881 newspaper article reporting his death, and it specifically mentions he was known for building a handsome staircase in the Loretto Chapel. The mystery of his identity might not be such a mystery after all.
So if the facts start to replace the legend, where does that leave us? Does knowing the how take away from the wow?
You know, in the end, it really doesn't matter if you see a miracle from God or an incredible feat of human skill. The power to inspire awe is exactly the same. The explanation doesn't take away the magic. It just shifts our focus from divine intervention to the absolute peak of human ingenuity. The staircase is a masterpiece, period. And for one final, amazing detail, remember those missing handrails? For almost a decade, the nuns and choir members were climbing up and down this steep spiral with absolutely nothing to hold on to. Can you imagine? Eventually, a more practical mind stepped in, and the beautiful ornate handrails we see today were finally added.
So we're left with this question. Maybe the story isn't about a saint from heaven, but about the miraculous level of skill a human being can possess. Maybe the true wonder here is what one person can create with just a few simple tools, a brilliant mind, and a total mastery of their craft. Does that explanation erase the wonder, or does it actually make it even deeper?